So tonight, I want to talk about Bigfoot and IR. Yeah. Hi guys, it's another really windy night, but and I have a lot of stuff going on, but tonight I want to talk about Bigfoot and infrared, or IR as most people call it. But before we get into that, I want to let everybody know I cracked some ribs, and that kind of kept me from doing the videos as much as I want. And then tomorrow I have an eyeball shot at 8:40 in the morning, and then Wednesday I have a some kind of lumbar shot. I can't remember what it's called, but hopefully it works, whatever it is. So I'll be down for probably 3 or 4 days. I probably won't have a video again. Sorry. Man, it seems like when I get on a roll, something likes to kick me and knock me back down. But it won't keep me down because I love doing this, especially when I get to do like cool topics. You know, this is like really fun to me. So, infrared and Bigfoot. A lot of people, and me included at one time, used to use security cameras, night vision cameras, game cameras, all these cameras, and they all use infrared. In fact, before I got with Jeff, I thought about game cameras and stuff like that, but I was more into because I saw Bigfoot like early in the morning into morning. As the sun went up, I watched him over an hour. So when I first saw him, it was dark, really dark. But it was like an hour before sunrise, or an hour and a half before sunrise, maybe almost 2 hours. It's hard to tell because I wasn't keeping track of time, but it was a long time, and he was up on a hill, and the only reason I seen him is because he was silhouetted against the sky, and the sky was starting to lighten up, but the woods were dark, real dark. And he started walking down the mountain really slow, 3 or 4 steps at a time, until, and the sun was coming up a little bit by little bit, and he was getting closer little bit by little bit. Anyways, that said, when I first met Jeff, before we started doing Paranormal Central and any podcasts or anything like that, I would go with them on all the Bigfoot outings. Like, not even really, it wasn't really for, well, I'm not really sure. He was doing some kind of podcast, not video, but just audio. And he wanted to switch to video, and that's my forte, is video. Been doing it for years. So when we got together, all we were doing was going out, and he had a really nice security, like 3 security cameras and a DVR. And we spent several nights, not all in the same, in a row, but several trips to the mountains. And we were trying to catch Bigfoot on the infrared. And we came up with all these different ideas. And one night we were in camp, and he had one that the infrared light itself would shoot. It had all these lights on it. I think it was like some kind of industrial surveillance camera, and I think he said it was like 300 feet, but I'm not sure. I know it was over 50 feet or 100 feet, because we were looking in the woods with it, and you could see the woods perfectly clear, and we were going to record it with a DVR. Well, that night, the Bigfoot came in, and it was getting closer and closer, and then it got into the range of the IR. And we were pretty sure that we were going to get him with it. And so he's like, turn on the IR, turn it on. And I turned it on, or he turned it on. He turned it on, and the thing, before we could even see it in the camera, by the time the system was, turned on and everything, it went just out of range of the IR. I mean, just out of range. It was just outside of how far that camera could see. So we turned it off. And a few minutes later, here he comes. He's coming in. I don't know if it's a he or a she, but here comes the Bigfoot again. And it's coming in, and it gets within, like, I would say 25 yards, 20 yards, well within range of this camera. Let's turn it on. And then the thing comes on, and it does like kind of like this camera did. It turns white. The screen turns white, and then it slowly comes in to focus, and the green color, or whatever color you have it set at. So there's a few seconds there that the camera can't see anything, and in that few seconds, that Bigfoot was out of range of that camera again. And that happened several times that night. And then we tried it again, and we tried it again, and it was the same results. We never could get these Bigfoot on the IR. See, now everyone else was kind of thinking, well, he hears us say turn it on, or he hears the button being turned on. Maybe we're tipping off that we're turning it on somehow, and he's getting out of range. But I was thinking in my mind, I think that it can see the IR. I'm almost positive this thing could see the IR, because it knew just how far to get out of range. And after a few times of really trying to catch this thing in multiple opportunities to catch it, we decided to give up, because we weren't catching it. It was not working. No IR camera we had could catch this thing. Either it couldn't shoot the beam far enough to see it, or it was getting out of the range. So we switched to game cameras. And I mean, we did game cameras for, I think at least 6 years. And we had game cameras. We started off with a game camera over here, and went over there, and went over there, all spread apart. And we didn't catch any Bigfoots at all for like 2 or 3 years. That's how we had it. On major game trails, where we're finding Bigfoot tracks, we know they're moving through there, only we're not catching them on the game camera. So we switched up, and we started putting 2 cameras facing each other. And that didn't work either. We didn't catch, like, we thought maybe one camera was malfunctioning, we'll catch them with the other camera. We did that and we'd leave the cameras out there for a year. So, this whole process takes time. It isn't like, we tried it one day and it didn't work. It was not working over several months then we started going like every 3 months to get the SD cards and check them and moving the cameras around. Then we had the idea of putting them higher up in the tree. Maybe they're, too low, and maybe they're so low they can see them, or it's not natural to the forest, so they're seeing them just like we would see them. So we decided we would put them higher. We started losing cameras, find them smashed up, but the SD card still worked, and it seemed like right before the camera would be smashed up, it would get moved around and stuff like that from behind, or the camera would malfunction, and then we would find it messed up. But we never saw anything smash it up. I think we did get a hand once, and the thumb looked kind of weird, like it was lower down and shorter. Yeah, it was just a weird looking hand, but it was solid white because it was right by, it was like it was grabbing the camera, and all we saw was the hand, and that's all we got. And I think one of the other researchers, I won't say his name because I don't know if he wants me to share his name, but he was doing game cameras also, and he caught something messing with the camera, but you never saw anything but its shoulder. And it didn't look like a bear or anything, because bears don't have shoulders when they stand up. So we go on with this for a while, and finally we started making camera traps where we realized they liked apples. We would put apples out, and the apples would disappear, but the game camera would malfunction. There's apples shot, apples with a bird in it, apples with a squirrel in it. No, maybe a deer would walk by, but the apples would be all piled up. And then all of a sudden, in the file of pictures that the camera took, there would be the last picture of the apples, and then there would be 7 or 8 shots of pure black. And then the camera would start functioning again, so it would take 7 or 8 pictures of nothing but black. Then the camera would start functioning, and the apples were gone. And we would find the pile of stickers right where the apples were. So it was like they sat down and ate the apples right there and peeled them off, and all we got was black pictures when that happened. So then we started putting more cameras and more cameras. The cameras are getting destroyed, stolen, or taken. Something was taking them, even though they're 14 or 15, 18 feet up in a tree, they were still disappearing. It was crazy. So this whole time, I'm starting to, my theory of way back when we were doing the IR cameras, of they can see the IR, my theory was starting to be, I didn't know that the game cameras had infrared sensors. And also when they came on, they were infrared at night. So I started thinking they could see in the IR. We totally abandoned IR. It wasn't working. Totally not working. And I started asking other people that go out Bigfooting that use cameras, IR cameras and stuff like that. I never told them that I think the Bigfoot could see IR, not right away anyways. But I would ask them what was their luck with game cameras, and I was finding nobody had any luck with game cameras. And I realized that there's probably hundreds of thousands of game cameras in the woods all the time at any given time, maybe 1 million, I don't know. And nobody was getting any pictures of Bigfoot, and I started putting, we started aiming the cameras different ways, and you could see the other camera firing pictures. And this camera would be on taking video, and the other one would be taking pictures. There was maybe 20 yards from it, but there was nothing there. It was absolutely nothing there, and it's doing the burst of pictures, and the one that we're looking at is video. Nothing, absolutely nothing. So we gave it the IR cameras, any kind of IR camera. It could be a handheld with night shot. It could be expensive commercial infrared security cameras. It could be game cameras. It didn't matter if they were expensive game cameras, cheap game cameras. It just didn't matter. We weren't getting Bigfoot in any infrared camera. Now, we did get a Bigfoot on a game camera once. And I wasn't there for this one. I was there when we placed the camera, but I couldn't go on the day they went to change the batteries and change the SD card. So Jeff went up with a couple other people, and as they approached the camera, a Bigfoot was following them in. And you could see it moving around behind the tree. The camera was taking pictures, not video. So the pictures were fast though, so when you click through them real fast, it was like watching a little video. And we didn't even catch it. We shared it on the Paranormal Central show, and somebody that was watching, I can't remember who, but somebody that was watching actually saw the Bigfoot. We didn't even see it. We didn't know it. We were sharing the pictures that showed Jeff taking his gear off. And as they turned towards the Bigfoot, where he was hiding behind the tree, which is only like 50 feet, 45 or 50 feet from there, it took off, and it kept the tree between them and it. Just like the first one I saw, he put the tree between me and him, and he escaped by using the tree as cover. Crazy. That car does that every night. That is so weird. So we did eventually catch a Bigfoot on a game camera in the daytime, though, not on IR. No infrared ever, in our experience, ever caught a Bigfoot. So after a year or so of messing around, and finally we stopped doing it. We were losing game cameras like crazy, and it was expensive, and we chalked it up to humans taking them, except the smashed ones. Okay, a game camera in the tree 14, 15, 18 feet up, maybe 20 feet, and we would find the game camera smashed on the ground. That wasn't a human. Whatever did that climbed up there, and usually they have these spikes that you twist into the tree like a mount. It's like a big screw, and it screws into the tree, and then it also, the game camera screws onto this mount. The mount would still be up in the tree, but the game camera would be on the ground, smashed up. So we know that wasn't a human. If they're going to take it and go through all the trouble of getting up there, they're not going to smash the camera up. Now, the ones that went missing, we're chalking it up to humans taking them, even though we don't know that for sure. It could have been Bigfoot the whole time, because we didn't just place cameras right on a trail that everybody uses. We go off trail, probably a quarter of a mile into the woods, and place them like that. And unless those people followed us, they would never find those cameras way up in the tree looking down at them. I guarantee you humans wouldn't find them. But to make sure, that we don't sound crazy, we say that humans got most of them. even though I don't think so. So then we transitioned to thermal cameras. Now, thermal cameras, or FLIR, like I have a FLIR and Jeff has a FLIR, that's a whole different ball game. That one doesn't shoot an IR light. It takes in heat signature. So there's no beam, no anything coming out of that camera. It's actually taking in heat signature, heat source, and making a picture for you. So that changed the whole game. In fact, Jeff showed me today that he bought this really cool mount that we can mount on top of the fifth wheel when we go up, and we're going to use it coming up on the next trip, which is at the end of this month, our first trip of the season. And I can't hardly wait. And we're going to use that mount. So I have the handheld one. I'm not even sure if it has a way to mount it on it because it's a handheld, but I'm going to check. It's been a whole half a year since I seen it, the last time we went squatching. So anyone using infrared, you might as well forget it, because we used infrared for at least a decade and we didn't get any evidence at all with infrared. And we tried every way imaginable and spent a ton of money on game cameras and different cameras with night shot and security cameras and infrared beams, like a spotlight that could really shoot a big beam. And we had everything. We couldn't catch anything. So don't waste your money trying to catch Bigfoot with infrared. I mean, you can if you want to, but I'm telling you that most likely, and if there was anyone catching them, we would see them. We would see a lot more video than we're seeing. The only videos we're seeing mostly are fakes, even though there is some good video out there, but it's mostly somebody in the daytime holding a camera. Oh, excuse me. Ouch, that hurt. Wow. Man, my ribs hurt. It's unbelievably hard to breathe and sleep and stuff like that when your ribs are bad. So, it's for you to decide if you want to go out with the IR and try it and spend money on it. I would say your best bet money's on thermal image, even though we've only caught one Bigfoot on the thermal image and we didn't have it on record. Darn it. We won't make that mistake again. But we've only had the thermal cameras for about a year, maybe a year and a half, and we haven't had a lot of time to use them. We're mostly learning how to use them. This year is probably going to be a different result, because if they come in view, even though they think we can't see them, and you can't see them because it's dark, we're going to catch them this time. We'll have 2 FLIRs on the job, and one will be not handheld, so they're not going to see anything but a piece of junk or something sitting there. I mean, it doesn't make any noise, anything. This is it. I think therm's the next thing. In fact, that's going to be another topic, is thermal imaging. And I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me. I'm praying for you. Pray for me. I got lots of shots coming up. Eyeball shot and fluoroscopy back injection, or whatever they call it. And I'll see you guys. I'm praying for you all. And I will see you on the next video.